Hello everyone, my name is Olli and I'm here to talk about Valio, Finnish-based dairy company, and Russia's economic sanctions set by Russia. The economic setbacks there is a minor mistake, don't worry about that. So, introduction and background. What is Valio? Valio is the biggest processor and marketer of dairy products in Finland, such as cheese and milk and yogurt and all of that kind of milk-based products. It was founded as early as 1905. First product export was to Russia in 1908. So, as from here we can already see that Finland and Russia has Valio and Russia have a long history together. In fact, 37% of Valio's exports go to Russia, so that's why this issue is really timely at the moment. Valio operates mainly in Finland, only 2 production factories in Estonia and 1 distribution factory in Factoria, which covers all the Russian region where Valio's products are being sold. And I also have another thing what I wanted to say about here, so for a minute. Yeah, it was in 7th of August 2014 that Russia announced that it will ban certain food products coming from within the European Union and from the United States. In this ban, there was a list of all food products that would be banned, including dairy products, milk, cheese, meat products, and many others. But milk and cheese were at the forefront of this ban list. So this measure was a backlash against the economic sanctions set by EU against Russia. And because of the Ukrainian crisis, and now the crisis has escalated a bit more into economic sanctions, and there's a bit of a standoff between the West and the East. And I did my research question. I kind of divided it into 2, but it was one questionnaire. It had 10 questions. And I wanted to find out how many of us use dairy products and how many are aware of the situation that Valio is now facing due to the economic sanctions. And the answers that I got were very, very positive, actually. I used written and online information as my source of literature, mainly online literature, because this topic is so new. There isn't that much, or there aren't any books about the topic yet. But there are a lot of different articles in different magazines. This is when I come to my research method. I did my questionnaire. I read a lot of economic magazines, news articles, and I also got the chance to interview one of Valio's spokesperson. He's a family acquaintance of mine, so I had a certain understanding what he could say to me. He couldn't say everything about what's going on at the moment. And the presentation data. I found that 100% of my respondents were from 18 to 30 years old, of whom 60% use dairy products daily. And I would also like to ask why all the respondents were 18 to 30 years old. It's because I mainly sent the questionnaire to my friends and my cousins, who of all are below 30, some of them are 30. And yes, 30% used dairy products every week, 5% used it every month, and 5% didn't consume any dairy products. So, and 100% of the respondents had some idea about the economic sanctions given by Russia to the EU. Most of them didn't believe that it would affect the quality of Valio's products in the future. So people are really, trusting in Valio's products because Valio is indeed the most popular dairy company in Finland. It has some competition, but Valio is overall in the Finnish market, it's the biggest one. And every one of my friends, which I interviewed, all of them used Valio's dairy products. So they're really popular, including myself, every morning for breakfast. My evaluation techniques used in my research. I did the questionnaire, which I already mentioned. And I kept my questionnaire simple and fast, so the interest of my respondents would, it wouldn't lack in any way. So I was quite happy about it with my own questionnaire actually. Analysis and interpretation of data. Yes, as I quite here stated, quite honestly, ValioCamp themselves make the situation better. At the moment, like all the other companies suffering from these economic sanctions, are at the mercy of Russia and the European Union. This is really unfortunate, but without one of them backing down and easing up in this matter, the business can't be profitable in the future. But how long is this economic sanctions going to take? We don't know. It depends when the situation stabilizes in Europe. The results that might occur to Valio is Valio might have to straighten their overall company strategy if the situation continues. As a matter of fact, they've already done so. As we've discovered in the news, they have been forced to do employer-to-employee negotiations about reducing staff and probably shutting down factories in Finland. And we do not know about the Russian situation if the distribution factory has to be reduced because they can't produce anything, they can't distribute anything right now. Yes, and as I stated, it might lead into even more setbacks such as reducing staff and shutting down factories. Conclusions and recommendations. What was my objective? Like I stated it before, my objective was to know how many of us use dairy products, how popular they are, and how many people are aware of the seriousness of the situation at the moment. Because if this situation continues, say, for another year, who knows what's going to happen? If Valio's products, indeed, if they have to lower their costs in any way, if their manufacturing processes suffers, or if the quality of the products suffer then. What recommendations I would suggest to Valio is that I think they should reevaluate their overall business strategy at the moment and do, a simple strategy where they, look ahead only a couple of months at a time, so they're, how would I say it? They should look ahead a couple of months at a time, so they could, prepare for the worst if something suddenly happens, because the situation at the moment is quite harsh. Anything can happen any time, because I don't like to say any bad things about other countries or nothing like that, but Russia is pretty unpredictable at the moment, so that's why. Yes, and my references: MTV3 News, Netherlands News, Yle News, Valio Group, Economist Magazine, Kauppalehti Magazine. Kauppalehti Magazine is also an economic magazine. It's a competitor of Economist, and Helsingin Sanomat, and many others. And if you have any questions or other than that, I would happily be answering to your questions. Yes, thank you very much.
Do you have a question?
What was the hardest part in this research?
The hardest part in my research was, at first, I didn't quite know how to do my questionnaire, and I was hoping to get some respondents from, example, Russian people, what did they think about the matter, but I didn't have the opportunity to do that because I don't know any Russians, or the Russians here in Finland don't speak even English that well, so that's quite, weird. But also, one of the issues that occurred because the information at the moment is so new, and there's rapidly coming new information about the topic, so it was quite hard to keep up with all the information coming on and what was reliable source and what was not reliable source. I had to, sometimes I had to, look up my sources really hard, because I wanted to find out information that Valio themselves have stated out to the public, and not some speculations of some economist person or something like that, but yeah.
And another question or something?
Yes, Ole, what was the one thing that you got out of this research?
the one thing that I learned is how serious the situation is at the moment. That was, you know, like, you know, 63% of Valier's overall sales come from Finland, and the other 37% come from exports from other countries, and it was how much it was? It was 30% came out of Russia. So that's a really big portion to Valier's overall, you know, organization. So I was quite new to learn that, you know, like Russia had such a big portion of, you know, like Valier's overall sales and overall organization. Yeah.
I think they took quite a lot of risk by relying on revenue from Russia.
Yeah.
So 30% is a lot
Yeah.
of revenue from
Yeah, and to be exact, in early 2014, Valier was, you know, like predicting that this year is going to be the most profitable year that they could have because their Russian sales had increased. Was it about? It was like 10% or something like that, and I can't remember the correct numbers. I had them on my research. And then the Ukrainian crisis happened, and everything escalated so quickly, and now their whole business in Russia has came to a halt due to the economic sanctions.
They should have some kinds of contingency planning.
Yeah.
Place. They didn't have any. That's the problem with when the market becomes unpredictable.
Yeah,
What
but
do you do next?
Yeah, but it was early when the crisis started in Ukraine. There was this one. Well, there was a group in Valier's organization, in Valier's board of directors, that predicted that this might happen. And they did have some sort of, you know, like an emergency exit or plan for this, but it didn't go accordingly what they hoped, because they thought that the economic sanctions that might occur are not, you know, like a total ban, but now at the moment they are a total ban, except the products that are still in shell before these economic sanctions were set in the 7th of August 2014. But the hardest part for Valier is also that when this happened, they, you know, had a lot of products in stock in the distribution center, and the best before date in dairy products is, you know, like it's not that long.
What dairy products, they don't last for very long.
Yeah, they don't last for very long. So that's the problem.
You're losing money.
That's the problem. Valier had a huge problem because they had this such big inventory of products what they had to, you know, like sell. So some of the stock, mainly cheese, came from the distribution center from Russia to be sold here in Finland, and it was called. It was quite funny that the cheese was called Putin cheese. And it was sold here with the name of Putin cheese. Well, not the name of, but it was the name of how us common folk called it. And I myself bought 2 packages of Putin cheese, and it was good. It was nice. Yeah.
So what? Tell me, if you could do it again.
Yeah.
What would you do? How would you approach it?
How would I approach this matter? Well.
Study. I mean, research.
How would I research it again? Well,
what you could do differently?
What
now
could I
do
do
you know?
differently? I think, well, mainly what is one of my biggest concerns is that I would have liked to have, you know, like the opportunity to speak to even more of Valier statesperson, and I would like to have some Russian aspect of things also.
Yeah.
You know, what does the common people feel like in Russia at the moment, because they can't have dairy products? Is it affecting them? I know that for sure, that dairy products overall, milk and cheese, aren't that popular in Russian food table, you know, like every day in common people's lives. And here, whereas in the Western world, it's really popular. So, yeah.
Any more questions? Okay, bravo, thank you.